Hi, welcome to What's the Word? I'm your host, Jaime McFaden, and I'm so excited to have you here. This podcast is about all things wellness. Each week, we will focus on a word of the day, and I interview some of the most inspirational people I know and share that inspiration with you. Join me, let's learn together on What's the Word.
This is the place where I belong.
Hi, I'm Jamie, and welcome to What's the Word? This podcast is about all things wellness. Each week, we choose a word of the day, and we focus on that word by interviewing the most inspirational people I know and sharing that inspiration with you. Today, I am incredibly excited to elevate our senses beyond the 5 that we all know and learn from 2 of the world's greatest spiritual teachers. One is a best-selling author of numerous books that Oprah and Maya Angelou have both written forwards and love so much, which is also my favorite book, The Seat of the Soul. He's here today to speak about the word harmony, which by definition means human value, referring to compatibility, accord in feelings, actions, relationships, opinions, and interests. It is a balance influencing and opposing to one another. It is such an honor in this moment here to be with the one and only, and now I have to say the two and only, Gary Zukav and Linda. Oh my goodness. I just, like I said last night, I had a dream. I had a dream, and you're both actually on my vision board, just so you know. So it's one of those intentions. I felt it would happen someday, but I didn't know how or when, and the timing. I'm so thankful that it lined up as it did. And I just want to thank you and honor you both for taking the time to be here today to share your gifts with the world and with my audience. And with that being said, I want to know what made you choose the word harmony?
Well, I can start with that one. I chose the word harmony for several reasons. One of them is that harmony is an intention of the soul. The other intentions are cooperation, sharing, and reverence for life. And I chose harmony because most people think of harmony exactly the way the dictionary described it for you. But in every event that we do, or every opportunity to speak that is given to me, I am delighted to put it in a larger context. And that context is a species awakening. A species that is encountering a new consciousness. In other words, we are living in an unprecedented, epic time in human history. Nothing like it has ever happened before in our 300,000 year history as a species, or maybe 2.5 million years, depending upon where you start counting. And that epic event is the transformation of human consciousness itself. As you said, beyond the 5 senses. So we're all traveling beyond the 5, not all. There are hundreds of millions of us that are, and there's still quite a few people that aren't. But everyone within the next few generations will be touched by this new consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
Because we are now makes us no better than those who aren't. It's just a temporary ebb and flow of evolution. So now we come to a new consciousness in which everything is appearing and is experienced and is perceived differently. By everything, I mean ourselves, the world, the universe, everything that we think about in our experiences, like power, relationships, community. Well, one of those things is harmony. Let's take a look at power for just a moment.
Mm-hmm.
In the old consciousness, power was the ability to manipulate and to control. And that's what we did in order to survive. We pursued the ability to manipulate and control the external world. That's external power.
Mm-hmm.
Now that we're becoming multisensory, we see power as something very different. We see ourselves as more than minds and bodies.
Mm-hmm.
We're beginning to sense the world around us as more than random, and we're beginning to experience the universe as wise and compassionate. So, where does harmony fit into this? From the old perception, harmony is what happens when people who have conflicting interests are trying to create a circumstance of minimal conflict so that they can at least get things done, so they can co
Mm-hmm.
create. Not co create, that's not co creation. So they can collaborate to get things done. You see this all the time. It's a matter of bargaining and everyone giving up the least that they can to get what they want.
Right.
We have discovered, and everyone is discovering, a new understanding of harmony that takes into account the interest of all, that um, that looks for ways in which individuals can co-create, not just cooperate. And the harmony is such a pleasing, elevating, expanding, exciting experience that it becomes a byproduct of the co-creation. And in fact, it's so enjoyable, sometimes it becomes the object itself of why people co-create.
Right.
So, my beloved,
I was thinking, I wanted to say something more, bring it down to a really practical level. And I was thinking about the fact that you have many people that are listening to you that are young parents, and you're a young parent yourself. Uh, and you have a young child, and it's so special. And I was thinking about, I don't know, this just came to me as Gary was speaking and you were talking about harmony. Gary and I were teaching in Japan several years ago, and it was just so delightful. It was such a delight. I can't even say. And we had a wonderful translator that really understood. He spoke. He understood what we were doing, so it was really wonderful to have him as a translator. But we had this. We were talking about to the young. These were almost all. There were no men there. All young mothers, and they were very interested in learning. Well, how can I work with my children? How can I create harmony in my relationship with my child who's upset about things, who clings to me, and we were just talking about how you can create authentic power yourself. You can feel if you're having a reaction to your child because they're not doing what you want. You can feel what's going on in you, in your own body, and say, "Oh, I'm having a reaction right now, and I don't want to yell at my child," which is something that it's easy to do when you're
Right.
frustrated, but instead feel what I'm feeling and know this has to do with me. My child is helping me to learn about myself. And so
Mm.
we were teaching them about that and saying that you can actually create a different kind of a relationship with your child. You because you're not getting you're looking at yourself first and you're saying, oh, they're showing me something. This is something that's coming to me because I'm reacting. If I weren't reacting, then my child could do whatever they're doing and I would know exactly what to do. But in this case, I'm
Right.
reacting, so I'm doing usual things that don't create harmony. So so we had this wonderful session with these women and then they came back the next day. And one of the mothers said, because she was saying, I don't know what to do with my child. She had told me the day before, I don't know what to do because she, every time she's like 3, and she said, every time they walk downstairs, and apparently they have a lot of stairs where she was living.
Mm-hmm.
And so the child would say, oh, I need you to hold me. I'm scared to walk downstairs. And this would happen every single time. And the mom was
Mm-hmm.
so frustrated about it, just so reacting to it. And so she felt where she felt it in her body and all of that. And then she said, oh, well, this really is telling me about myself. So what she did, she came back the next day and she said, I tried an experiment because I said to her, you could try to experiment with your child and see what
Right.
happens. I said, you could see what could you do differently than you did before. And so she said, I asked her, I said to her, because I had told her a story about some experience with our granddaughters. And so she said, it was so sweet. She said, okay, uh, she said, yes, I can hold you, but why don't we try holding hands and see what happens when we hold hands and go down the stairs together?
Yeah.
Try that out without attachment. I told her if you have attachment to that, it won't work. But if it's okay with you, you could try it out. And the little girl took her hand and they started walking down the stairs. And then
Wow.
that kept happening. And so she realized that she was in a power struggle with her child because
Hmm.
she was reacting and upset. But instead of being in the power struggle, picking her up, feeling resentful, and walking down the stairs, she tried something different. And so it's a matter of when your child is fairly young, there are things you can try to to work out with them to see if they'll try. They don't even know they have a different choice in that moment. In fact,
Right.
a lot of times none of us know that. We don't realize we have other choices, and it's always good to remind each other when we do that there are other ways of looking at this besides the way we're seeing it in the moment. But anyway,
Right.
that created such harmony. I just loved that. When she told us that, we were so delighted, weren't we? That she was.
We were.
Yeah, it
We
was
Well,
were.
so sweet.
It's beautiful because for anyone that's listening or watching right now, there can be the power struggles with your kids. There can be the power struggles with your partner. There can be power struggles all the way around with work and everything else. And what I learned so much from this book, and I read this book at a pretty young age. I remember people said, "What are you reading that book for?" You're too. I remember people kind of commented, "Aren't you too young for that book?" I said, "No, this is the best book ever," because for me, I always felt a very deep connection to all things, whether it's plants, animals, people, passion, whatever it may be, and something I couldn't explain. And I grew up Greek Orthodox, but then went to Catholic school, and I kind of didn't really understand the religious element of you do this and you do that. It felt very controlling without a why behind. I didn't understand it and it didn't make sense to me. Now this book made sense to me. So I've given this book now to I don't even know how many people I've gifted it to because I think what you both have done is you've it's almost like gatekeepers to a door that people maybe really want to go to and you just kind of said it, Linda, where a lot of the times we have this choice but we don't even realize we do. So whether you're my daughter's age 4 years old going down the stairs or whether whatever age you are, I think that what I love so much about what you both do is I feel that you really are the gatekeepers to say here you go if you'd like, with so much education that you guys put behind it, with and the whole element of thinking outside of the box. And I think for me personally, that's what resonated with me. That's why, I mean, for so many years, I was like, okay, someday I know I'm going to be able to speak with these two incredible beings. And I don't know how, and I don't know why, but in my spirit, my soul, I felt it. And here we are. And, and Linda, I have to say that I listened to an interview recently and you pointed out something that was so just beautiful that I have to touch on. And I want to hear both of you talk about this. Is Linda had said, because I remember hearing about you, Gary, that when you first met, and I think it was in Shasta, and and I think Linda had felt, something spiritually connected to you, and maybe at that time you said you were resistant, a little bit resistant to her, or you felt that and you were aware of it and you were able to say how you felt, which that in and of itself is beautiful or sensational. And then hearing Linda follow up and say, you know, maybe whoever you dated before wasn't your person, but they also helped you to face a mirror in doing your own work for yourself. So it wasn't like, because I see this all the time, people are looking for someone, or like this external, how am I going to find my happiness? I need to buy the car. I need to get the husband. I need to get the wife. I need to, all this, where you both are helping people realize that it's already here, right?
Yes.
Do we have that?
That's
Yes.
right. It's here. We do have that. Now the question becomes, what do we do when we begin to realize that? What can you
What do we do?
what do you do when you
Hmm.
want to create harmony and you're enraged? What do you do when you want to create harmony and you're feeling so superior you don't even want to bother with this person? What do you do when you want to create harmony and you're so needing to please that you can't even connect to the person? What do you do when you're jealous, resentful? What do you do when you can't stop thinking about food or gambling or shopping or sex or anything that you can't get out of your mind? That's the time to create authentic power. Now, most people mask all of those feelings by pursuing external power. They try to change the world. They get some more food. They find the right partner. They rearrange the world so they'll feel good, and that can work uh, temporarily. But when you get what a frightened part of your personality, let's use that term, a fear-based aspect of yourself once, when you get it, it feels happy, satisfied, even exhilarated. But it's like it's gone up to the top of a roller coaster and then it's going to go down and it'll go all the way down to the bottom. So creating authentic power in your life is using that ride to learn about yourself so that you can distinguish in yourself between love and fear and choose love no matter what's going on inside yourself or what's going on outside yourself. And it's in that context that we're discussing harmony.
I love it.
Now,
I was just thinking about. Oh, go ahead. You wanted to finish that part.
no, go ahead.
Well, I was thinking about what Jamie said, and one of the thing about when I met Gary, um, even though I knew I was being connected with him and I didn't understand why, because I had read The Seed of the Soul before that, years before that, and what I was so impressed about though was that he was talking to me about his own experiences that were real experiences, his feeling of wanting to push me away. And I really, but I knew he was telling me not because he wanted to make me feel bad because he was pushing me.
Right.
He was telling me because he was saying that was so curious because there's no reason why it was something inside of me. It was part of me that's frightened, fearful, that wanted to push you away, and I don't know what that is, and I don't think it doesn't have anything to do with you.
Right.
That and I knew I'd read that in The Seed of the Soul, and I was so excited that someone, and of course Gary, the one who wrote was saying that to me. I was just so moved because it really made a difference to me because I'd never had uh, well, I don't really know many people in my life, anyone, but especially a man, had ever told me the truth about what they were really feeling. I hadn't been able to do that for myself. So I was like, to someone else, I was so excited about the possibility of having a different kind of relationship with someone. I wasn't talking about, I'm not talking about a romantic or anything. I was just talking about just having someone I could talk with in a way that was real. It was so
Yes.
exciting. I just can't even say. So I was just thinking about that time going in.
It's so beautiful. I have to, for just a moment, boast about the two of you leading by example for all of us. And I believe that we are all connected and we are all part of this whole. And we may have different feelings and different beliefs and different thoughts. And yet here we are all together on this journey. And sometimes we meet and sometimes we don't. And sometimes somebody strikes something within us. But what I love that you both have done so profound and beautiful is share your genuine love with the world in a way that helps to lead by example. And so for a moment, I just want to honor that, because it's very rare to find two souls like yours, and I get to spend this time with you. And I feel so thankful. And to anyone that's listening, if you don't know much about Gary and Linda yet, you will. And I'm guarantee you're going to be Googling them after this, because they are very special. And actually, I want to segue into your new book that's about to come out. So, Universal Human, I feel like that's a great harmonious way into this journey. This is now going to be what, your fifth bestseller?
Um, there's a few more. It'll be a bestseller. We've got 7 or 8 books. Linda and I have co-authored some of them.
Wow.
So yes, I'm just getting into the hang of writing books. I love it. And let's put together now.
So can you share with us a little bit about Universal Human?
I can. Um, a universal human is authentically powerful. That means someone who's striving to align her personality with her soul, not to change the world so she'll feel better and safer and more valuable. A universal human is beyond culture, religion, nation, ethnic group, and gender. A universal human, a universal human's allegiance is to life first and everything else second. For example, if I were a universal human, I would say, um, I'm a universal human first and a male second. I'm a universal human first and an American second. I'm a universal human first and a grandfather second. Even that comes second,
Mm-hmm.
comes second to life. So, are there any universal humans on the earth now? No. It's our potential. But there are emerging universal humans. And you may be one of them. So look inside yourself to see if you resonate with any of these characteristics or behaviors of a universal human. A universal human emerges from an authentically powerful human. So all the things you read in The Seat of the Soul and all the things that we're talking about now having to do with authentic power are not a shortcut to becoming a universal human. They're requirements. And a universal humanity will emerge out of an authentically powerful humanity. And there's only one way to create an authentically powerful humanity. You have to create authentic power in yourself. Because if you're trying to change humanity, you're pursuing external power. You're trying to change the world to make you feel better about yourself or more valuable. And as we start to use our new perception, our multisensory perception, we begin to see. And there comes a time when you really see it, that the love and fear in the world are the same love and fear in you. Not like the love and fear in you, the same love and fear in you. So the only way you can change the world is to change yourself, so that you are challenging fear when it emerges in you and cultivating love. Fear means all the things I mentioned: jealousy, resentment, fear, rage, anxiety, addiction, compulsion, obsession. And love means those experiences that you have of gratitude, appreciation, caring, contentment, patience, awe of the universe. So when you're feeling a fear-based part of your personality, when you're in a power struggle with your child or your partner, in that moment, put your attention inside yourself. And you can learn how to do that. Linda and I co-wrote a book called The Heart of the Soul. emotional awareness. And never, well, I don't like to say never, but I think this is a pretty good, safe time to say it. If you want to transform yourself, it doesn't work to attempt to deny or repress or suppress an emotion in any way. On the opposite, but to feel it fully. And while you're feeling it, reach for the healthiest part of your personality you can. And if you can't go there, at least you can remember when you were experiencing a time that you felt content, or that you were satisfied, or that you were patient, or that you appreciated the universe. And just the thought of going there moves you in that direction, turns you in that direction. It turns you toward love. And that's what you can do. And that's the only way I know to create harmony.
Mm.
That's a beautiful way. And now for anyone that's listening, and for anyone that's, let's say, struggling right now in whatever is going on in their life and however they're feeling, and maybe because I hear this often, someone might say to me, okay, that sounds nice, Jamie. It sounds nice to have a gratitude practice. It sounds, you seem so happy. That's great. Well, I'm taking all these medications and, I just don't feel it. And I believe that the incremental, like you just tapped on it, where you said, even if you just try, and if it doesn't necessarily work in that moment, you just keep trying and it helps you. Do you have any other tips for anyone that's listening, that's struggling and they want to make those changes and feel the feelings within, but maybe they avoid it or maybe they mask it? How to start peeling and doing that shadow work?
Well, sometimes
It's not shadow work. You might call it soul work.
Soul work.
Shadow has to do with your personality. The new consciousness has to do with your soul. It gives you these impersonal perspectives that we've been discussing.
Hmm.
Personalities in the past haven't had.
Right. Wow.
yeah, the thing I think that's really important. One of the things that's really important is that um, we all have fear-based parts of our personality. Everyone does. We have many of them, and we also have loving parts of our personality. And the whole idea is to align your personality with your soul. So to act from loving parts of your personality that are in awe of the universe, that are have clarity, that are supportive and appreciative of other people, and sometimes and of yourself. And sometimes that's really hard to do when you're reacting in the moment, which of course we all know. I mean, those are parts that come up. They're very strong. And but what you can do is you can take a pause when you feel some reaction. It's probably very familiar because it's probably happened before. But you can stop and notice what you're feeling, notice what your thoughts are. Take a little break from acting on it and looking at, oh, this is something in me. I want to learn about this. I want to learn about this. I don't want to let this control me, and
Right.
just deal with that. It's not, I'm not saying that it's easy, but when you take that break for a moment and you breathe and you just look at, okay, I'm feeling this, but that's not who I am. So I am going to choose another part of my personality that's aligned with my soul. I do not want to act from this place right now. And if you do end up acting from that place, not to make yourself wrong about it, but to say, okay, now I see how that whole thing plays out, and it's played out many times before the same way. Next time I'm going to catch it sooner. So
Right.
it's a gradual process. It's not something where, okay, you see something once and it's gone. That's not how it goes. How it goes is if you have, let's say you have a frightened part that feels jealous, if that's a part of you that you like, I had a very strong one that felt jealous, and I thought, I'm a jealous person, but I can't, I have a reason to be jealous, I have a reason to feel this way. But when I realized, no, if it's a reaction and I'm in fear, because that's not loving to feel jealous, what, how can I look at this differently? So I began to feel it. I would feel it every time. Instead of acting from it, I would feel what that felt like in me, knowing that that is not who I am and I have different choices. And I kept doing that over and over and over again until it lost its power over me. Every once in a while, it'll come up again. And oh, this is really funny. Now it can be funny, but it wasn't funny at first.
Right.
But it's like, oh, okay, it lost it's not there. Okay, oh, you want to come up again? It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. But it wasn't that way at the beginning. But
Right.
we always have choices, and we can change, and to remember that you're not that part of you that does the things that you have created consequences for your life that you're not happy about now. You're not that. That's a part of you that you came here to not let it control you. You came here to live a more loving life. That's why we're here in the Earth School. That's what we call it.
The Earth School. I love that you call it the Earth School. I agree. Every day there's something to learn. And with that being said, is there something that either of you or both of you, thinking back to your, let's say, teenage or adolescent or even in your 20s, and something that you could look back and say to tell them, so that anyone that's listening right now, because I think what you just said just made me think a lot about also forgiveness and giving ourselves forgiveness as well. I think sometimes people say, well, I can forgive this person, but it's really hard to forgive me, or both. It's hard to forgive. Is there anything that you can share with us I mean, you're both so wise and you have so much beautiful experience, and I just would love to soak it all in.
You are really painting a picture that's beautiful, and it is of us. We're wise, we're loving, and take it in. And at the same time, we have other aspects of ourselves
Yes.
that come up, and that is where we do the work. You can't choose what you're going to feel next.
Right.
It, emotions come up in you, but you can choose what you're going to do
Mm.
next. That's where you can change your life and change the world. That's the work. Um, you ask me about, you ask us about, or me when I was in my 20s or earlier. Well, let's see, what was I doing? I was addicted to sex. I was riding motorcycles. I was experimenting with drugs, quite a few of them. Fortunately, I was blessed or graced not to um, get involved with any heavy drugs, nothing like heroin or what is now meth or any of those
Mhm.
derivatives. But everything else, I regret doing my personal research. I thought I was very cool. I was angry, very angry. The addiction to sex and the anger were closely related. They're both strong expressions of fear, of
Mhm.
feelings of inadequacy. And um, I was macho, so that is what I was doing in San Francisco when I was uh, actually even into my 30s. So um, the transformation that I've experienced um, partly comes from grace, as it does with everyone, and we're always have grace. We're living in a grace-filled universe, and whenever it seems so brutal and so nasty and so disparaging and so unworth life, hold on to that thought that everything that is happening in your life is serving a purpose. And in the Earth School, that purpose is to bring the consciousness of your soul into the awareness of your personality. And many of the experiences that do that powerfully are experiences that the personality would not choose.
Wow.
So be gentle with yourself. Become aware in your life to the extent that you're able. The seat of the soul will give you some guidance about that. But Linda and I don't suggest that anyone believe what we say just because we say it. In fact, we suggest you never do that. Oh, there's never again. But that's a good never.
It's another good never.
You can do that. Should and never are not accurate words to use in describing the path that you're on. Because no matter what you do or what you choose, there's learning involved.
Mhm.
You described us as gatekeepers, but maybe you can look at us in a slightly different way because gates are designed to keep people out. Generally, if people look at it that way,
Right.
maybe like a doorways. Doorways.
There, that's what I've visualized the opening.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
and visualize us in front of a door that's round and wide. And
Yes.
leads to your own sanity and your health, and your
Mhm.
groundedness and creativity and meaning and fulfillment. And we were saying, why don't you try this door?
Yes.
But there's a lot of other doors. There always are. In any moment, there's lots of doors in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And when you go through one of them, all of the others shut.
Mm.
And the one that you walk through becomes your reality in that moment. You've chosen that. And what do you see in that reality? More doors.
Mm.
You're always presented with
Yeah.
choices. The optimal choice is the choice to grow spiritually. But whatever doorway you walk through, whatever choice you make, there's learning. The question becomes, what do you want to experience? What experiences do you want to create while you're learning?
Right.
Do you want to learn wisdom through fear and doubt? Or do you want to learn wisdom through love and trust? The fear and doubt, the fearful and doubtful ways of learning wisdom, like, I doubt if I can do this kind of work, and I don't think I could even if I were explained it. Or I don't think I'm worth being alive, and I know that deep inside me that if anyone saw me the way I am, they wouldn't want to be with me. Whenever you can make choices, of course you can. You've made them all your life. Choices
Mhm.
in those energies. But the path that forms around those choices, the consequences that those choices create a path that's longer, more difficult, more challenging. And the consequences that form around the paths that you make when you're grateful, appreciative, content, caring, when you're in awe of the universe, when you're in awe of the souls before you, standing before you, that path is more direct, much more joyful. But all roads lead to home.
I love that.
No, I just had two things I want to say. One about the book, Universal Human, and
Hmm.
the other is addressing your question that you talked about. I was just talking to someone yesterday, actually, who was telling me that she had been having, I think it had to do with the pandemic and being alone for a long time. So she was on her own or with a few other people. And it was so interesting that we're always together, roommates. But it was interesting what's happened is that all the ways that she used to use to cover up her pain were gone. So she was feeling a lot of pain and had been for some time. A lot of painful sensations in her body, and just feeling like lonely. And so, in other words, instead of pleasing people and doing things and keeping herself really busy like she would normally
Hmm.
to cover up her pain, uh, she couldn't really do that anymore. So instead, she was feeling, and she decided to stay with that and allow herself to feel that. But then it turned out to be that she kept feeling it and feeling it and feeling it, and she got to a point where she was actually indulging it. In other words, continuing to feel it, not seeing that she had a choice. And
Right.
so we were talking about how it's good to feel the pain, but then you need to make the choice to choose
Hmm.
something different, not to just
Right.
feel it uh, and feel it and feel it, because then it becomes a different kind of a thing. It becomes what some people label as depression or anxiety or whatever. What I would label it as is a fear based part of the personality that's in control.
Right.
And you haven't done anything to change it. And so to change it, you feel it fully for sure, but then you begin to make other choices. And I think this is really important for people to hear, to know that you have other choices. Even when you're feeling the very worst that you've ever felt, there's always something that you can do to make another choice.
There is always,
Always.
even if it's just open your eyes, even if it's
Mhm.
just get out of bed, even if it's just stand up. There's always choices. We live in a world. The Earth School is a domain of time and space and matter and duality. And the fundamental duality in the Earth School is love and fear. The opposite of love is not hatred, it's fear.
Mhm.
And when you choose an intention, at bedrock bottom, you're choosing one of those. You might think you're choosing an intention to get another job, to get married, to move, to buy something, to not to buy something. But those are, you might say, out tensions. Your intention is always either love or fear. And you can experiment with this yourself and see for yourself. And the intention that you choose, whether love or fear, is a quality of consciousness that infuses your actions and your words. And that is what creates your consequences. All of this becomes visible to you now because we're becoming multisensory. And if you're resonating with any of what Jamie and Linda and I are discussing, it's because you're multisensory. So allow yourself to move in that direction. Allow yourself to move in the direction of meaning. Meaning is the compass that always points in the direction that your soul wants you to go. And if you're going in the opposite direction, your life begins to fill with empty of meaning. And if you're going in the direction, your life begins to fill with meaning.
Yes. I can attest to that myself, that many years ago, and for those who know me know, I went through a lot. I went through really hard times. I lost my father at a young age. I Our family had a lot of things I went through with, depression. They put me on all these medications. And so I remember those times, and I remember feeling afraid. I remember feeling stuck. I remember feeling, how do I get out? But just like you've both described, it wasn't an overnight change. It wasn't even, I mean, it was years, and even still to this day, every day, there's moments that I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling that feeling again. And I love that you said that, because to anyone that's watching or listening, that is part of the whole picture. It's not just all of a sudden. However, when I do believe, when we get into this kind of more flow with our soul and our authentic power, and the awakening and awareness to it, then it leads us into places like this moment right here. This is something that, for me, I'm 35 years old and I've dreamed about this moment, to have a conversation with you. And here we are on my podcast, celebrating life, celebrating this moment, and celebrating your new book that comes out in very short time, June 22nd, right? Summers, I love that. So I have to say, as we wrap this up, is there anything else, a final ending words for the listeners today that you would like to share?
Oh, I'd like to share so many things, but I do want to say that this book that Gary wrote, I've known about. He's been with this writing this book for so long, even before I met him, and it was a long time ago that I met him in the 90s. Um, but the interesting thing about the book is that it's a book about hope. It's a book about seeing what's possible as human beings now, because we're becoming multisensory. There's something else that's possible for us. Well, as we're creating authentic power, everything changes. We see all the things that are around us that seem like, well, how could that be positive if all these social structures are disintegrating in front of us? But yet that that will change and things will
Right.
emerge because we are creating authentically, we're creating with love. And so Gary talks about that throughout the book, and it's so positive and hopeful. I feel that people are going to be not only reading The Seed of the Soul, but seeing how Universal Human, that book, will bring them into a whole different place in their life and see what's the potential for all of us. So I wanted to say that.
I love that. And I have to ask you both, where can, let's say someone's listening right now or watching right now and they're, just so excited. Um, do you still offer courses, classes, or where's the best place to find you?
Well, we do, and we
Okay.
are actually creating a whole new ecosystem, but our old one is still there,
Okay.
and but so they can come to seedofthesoul.com. They'll see what we've had there for a long time,
Hmm.
but there is an event that they could come to if they want to this summer called the Journey to the Soul. It's one that we have done for many, many years, and we love teaching it because we get a chance to be with people for 5 days and really experience with each other what it means to create authentic power, what it means to be in spiritual partnership with each other.
And it's never the same each year.
Oh yeah,
It's we might think it would be, but it's not, because we bring to it, you bring to it, everyone brings to it where they are in this moment.
Right.
And that event is always as alive and current and vital as this discussion, this interaction that we're having right now.
I love it.
Yeah, and then we'll have many other things to also to offer very soon. But if they went there today, they wouldn't see all of the wonderful offerings that we're also going to be sharing with them. But that is one thing. If someone feels very drawn and they want to come to a 5-day live online event, they could come and be with us.
Yes, if you want to get a glimpse of what the new website might look like, we can show you one page. It's a pre-order page for the book. Go to
Right.
universalhuman.com, and I feel it's elegant, it's beautiful, I like it very much, and it's just a taste of what lots of pages are going to look like. Not replicating that page, but more beauty, more elegance, and more support. That's why we're doing it, to support you in creating authentic power and experimenting with spiritual partnerships. Because you ask what a final word would be, and this one probably isn't the final one because I thought a few of them between the time you first asked and now. But I would say now, experiment with your life. That's what you have it for. What really does give you meaning or could give you meaning? Feel that through. Don't think it through.
Feel that through. Don't think it through. That.
Your intellect does not have that much to do with your spiritual growth. It can give you wonderful ideas like these, but when you actually start to change your life, that's what becomes exciting to you. Not why, but the miracle of it, the miracle of you, the miracle of the people you're around.
This is a miracle, and I feel so blessed and so much gratitude. And I have to say as well, I pre-ordered my book. I am going to be there June 22nd for the launch call. I am so excited, and I want to thank you both so very much for, once again, all that you do, all that you continue to give, to share, to love. Thank you so very much. You are just, yeah. Thank you. I am speechless. I am feeling the feelings and I am speechless. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you both. I can't wait to read the book and share it with everyone. And thank you. And hopefully I can come to your retreat. When is it?
July 21st through the 25th.
Maybe that was the dream I had.
Yeah, maybe that was it, Jamie.
Maybe that was it.
I love it. Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, thank you both so much. Thank you for joining me here at What's the Word. Follow us on social media with the links on the screen, and don't forget to like and share with your friend. Your support helps us grow and continue to make inspirational content. See you next time on What's the Word.